Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us here today at Shoreditch Town Hall, this amazing venue for the future of Monzo. My name is Simon, or Simon B, as I'm known in the company or on our community forum, and I'll be your host today. Now, the last time I stood up at a Monzo event and hosted, somebody came up to me afterwards and he said, I can't believe you work for a bank and you wear gold shoes. And I said, I don't work for a bank, I work for Monzo. And I think that says it all, really. So it's amazing to think that some of you in this room might have been our customers for almost 4 years at this point, and some of you may have joined us sooner or any time in between. I myself have just celebrated my 3rd year working at Monzo, and a lot has changed in that time, but mostly in size. So about a month ago, our CEO, Tom, he shared a company photo that had been taken a few months after I joined. And there was about 30 people in it. And as one of our first ever distributed or remote workers, I sadly was not in that photo, but there was about 10 or 15 of us that were working remotely in that first group, and those 30 in the office. And that was it. That was the entire company at that time. Today, we are over 1,400 people in 4 offices, including our newest office in Los Angeles. So we are well beyond the practical possibility of taking a company photo. Just couldn't happen. But in that 3 years, and before that, it's kind of always felt like there has been one urgent short-term goal after another in this company. And early on, it was we needed to get a banking license. If we did not get that, then we could not be Monzo Bank. And so we did that. And then after that, it was like, okay, now we need to actually finish building Monzo Bank, our fully in-house modern infrastructure. It's turned out it's actually quite difficult to do that, but we did it. And then after we had built the infrastructure, then we thought, we've now got all these customers that we have on our prepaid beta scheme, which I'm sure a lot of people here remember, and they all actually quite like it. It's all connected to all these third parties and things like that. How do we move them all over seamlessly to our new in-house system? And so we did that. And then after we'd done that, everybody's now on proper Monzo Bank, full current accounts. Then the struggle was, we need to get to positive customer unit economics. And what that meant was that every new customer coming in had to be generating revenue and not losing money for the company. And that was pretty difficult. I remember Tom, our CEO, standing up every week at our company all hands, and he would say, I'm going to stand here every week and talk about customer unit economics until we get there, and you'll all be sick of me talking about it. But we did that. And so after we did that, then the short-term goal became, okay, we are at positive customer unit economics. We have had successful crowdfunding and venture capital investments. What happens now if we actually put some money into advertising and marketing and growth for the first time? And so we did that, and you probably all saw our TV advert, our tube adverts. Maybe a few of you got £5 or more than £5 for referring a few friends, and that was all part of that. And then as we did that, we realized that what everybody's looking at every day in the Monzo app, that's not Monzo of the future. That is basically now Monzo of the past. It's built on these assumptions and this feature set that we had when we first designed our prepaid scheme that was now years old at that point. So we started building what is now known as Monzo 3.0, our fully redesigned app experience that I'm sure you've all seen by now. And then the struggle was, okay, people generally don't like change. If any of you remember whenever Facebook, for example, has changed their UI, it's just chaos. People riot, or digitally riot, or whatever that looks like. And actually, we worked really hard on the new user experience, and we managed to keep that to a minimum. I think most people are really happy with what we've built. And what they don't know yet, or what they might not know, is that it scales. It's really there so that we can continue to add all the features we're building now, and everything we'll build in the future as well. So today, for the first time ever, probably, we don't have a single urgent short-term goal, but we have a series of actionable long-term goals within the company that we consider to be the future of Monzo. And they're all tied together with one internal narrative that we call eating our vegetables. And what that means is that rather than jumping from new feature to new feature to new feature, we're going to double down on our structures, on our governance and our risk and our compliance and all these things that help us to build a really stable company, something that's really robust, so that we can continue to grow and, crucially, maintain control of that growth. So today, you are going to hear about all of these things. You're going to hear from the team that made Monzo 3.0. You're going to hear our approach to design as we grow and maybe even move into international markets. You're going to hear about how we fight financial crime, a topic that has seen a little bit of media coverage recently. You are going to hear about open banking and how that is changing our industry. And you are going to hear a Q&A, not just from our CEO, Tom, but also our first investor, Eileen from Passion Capital. And we also have our brand new head of diversity and inclusion giving a talk today, Cherie, who's going to talk to you about all the things that we're doing, not just to build a truly diverse and inclusive company, but one that helps everybody bring their best selves to work every day. You're going to hear about all of these things and more. But before we get into that, just a few quick ground rules. We are running about 20 minutes behind the schedule that you probably all saw when you walked in, so on the breaks, if you're looking at the timings, just add 20 minutes to them. We'll be facilitating everything. Please get back in here at the right time for the breaks. If you need some help, look for Monzo staff. They have badges on saying, "I'm happy to help." Toilets, you probably saw them at the entrance when you came in. Fire exits are these two doors here. And I think that's most of it. Oh, and if you could keep your phones on silent when people are giving talks, because even if you have a really cool ringtone, we don't really want to hear it on the stage. It's kind of distracting. Those are most of the ground rules. So thank you again for attending today at the Future of Monzo. It is my absolute pleasure to now introduce for the opening keynote our CEO, Tom Blomfield. Big round of applause, please.
Thanks. Hello, everyone. It's awesome to be in this huge venue. Every year we do events like this, and they started out, many of you may have been there, in pretty grimy offices with me perched on the edge of a windowsill. And we grew and moved to an office on City Road, and now our office down on Finsbury Square. But we've outgrown that as well. And so today I'm delighted to be here in Shoreditch Town Hall, and delighted that all of you have given up part of your Saturdays to come and hear about the future of banking. We're also moving to new offices very shortly. So early next year we'll be upping sticks for the 6th or 7th time in 5 years, moving to new premises just around the corner, which I'm very, very excited about. So you've got an amazing agenda lined up today. As Simon mentioned, you'll hear from our design team, our financial crime team, from Cherie. I'm really, really excited she's joined us last week as our head of diversity and inclusion. I'm going to talk now for 14 more minutes, but I'll be back again towards the end of the day with Eileen Burbage, who's one of our greatest supporters and our first investor and board member. So that'll be a lot of fun. I'm going to talk now about 3 things. One is Monzo today, and just sort of reflecting on the year we've had and the year ahead. The second thing I'm going to talk about is the vision of the company, the sort of why. What are we trying to achieve here? And then the third thing, I'll just whiz through a few of the new features I'm most proud about over the last year or so, and just give you a little bit of thinking behind the sort of why we built those things, in case it's not readily apparent. And then you've got an amazing agenda. So, without further ado, Monzo today, in the last 12 months have been pretty phenomenal. We've grown from about 500 employees to about 1,400 in 1 year. We've grown from 1 million customers to 3.2 million customers off the back of an award-winning TV ad campaign that ran over the summer. When that aired, we were adding about 250,000 new accounts per month, which is just astonishing. I think that's 4 or 5 times faster than any bank has grown in the UK. It puts us on track next year to get to about 6 million customers. That's about 10% of the UK population. Today, we're about 5% of the UK population as customers. We represent about 5 or 6% of all faster payments sent at any point in time. And I'm really, really pleased that last weekend, you may have noticed, or maybe not, we took an hour of planned outage to transition from Payport, our outsourced faster payments gateway, to our own in-house faster payments connection. What that means is our technology is now approximately 100% built in-house, maintained by us and hosted in the cloud. If you've been with Monzo long enough, you'll remember 2 or 3 years ago we had similar problems with an outsourced card processor, which caused a lot of frustration, a lot of outages, frankly. And we solved that by bringing it in-house. We saw exactly the same pattern with this faster payments processor, and we built it in-house and launched it. The migration went incredibly smoothly, and really no one noticed, which is kind of the point. So that's now live. We've put it through its paces. It looks like it's performing really, really well. So now we are 100% in-house technology, all hosted in the cloud, which I think is how every modern bank should operate. We've also done a lot of fundraising. So we've now raised a total of £300 million, valuing the company at £2 billion. The price per share is something like £13.30, give or take, which for our earliest crowd investors who supported us from so long ago is hopefully, at least on paper, you've made a great return. And I really, really hope to give you all a chance to get some liquidity over the next few years, and looking forward to an IPO over the next several years, not immediately. So any journalists in the room, please take note of that. So over the next 12 months, we're really focused on growing steadily. I think at our current rate, we'll get to 6 million customers, and really focusing on becoming a sustainable and viable company. And that means, as Simon said, making sure we're in control, that we know how our systems are performing, that we know we're compliant, that we're offering products that people really value, but also growing revenue. We are still loss-making. We're reliant on external investment. We've grown our revenue in the last 12 months or so from about £20 million annual revenue today to £80 million. In a year's time, that should be more like £200, £250 million. So over 2 years, going from £20 million revenue run rate to £250 million revenue run rate, which is pretty incredible. So I'm really excited about that. I think we'll aim to break even over the next couple of years or so. So we will be still reliant on external investment for a little while, and probably looking at an IPO in 4 or 5 years' time. So really, really not any time soon. Anyway, I think we've had an incredible year. Particularly, I'd point to the TV ads, the app restructure, and the faster payments migration as 3 things I personally am really, really proud of. So stepping back, this is an extract of an investor presentation I gave a few months ago that we raised our last round on. It's sort of, and if you've been, I recognize a lot of familiar faces in the audience. If you've seen me talk before, you'll have heard this before. 10, 15 years ago, people banked with high street banks. I banked with Cheshire Building Society, and then I moved to NatWest as a sort of grown-up bank. And the idea was that these big banks would sort of sign you up as a student and then cross-sell you all these products, like a credit card or a car loan or a mortgage or whatever it was. And you sort of, all your products and services would come from NatWest or Barclays. And they'd be able to sort of monetize that. The problem was these products were never the best in the market, really. They relied on inertia. And so over the last 10 years, we've seen this wave of disaggregation. Single point solutions, fintechs doing one thing really, really well. A great example is TransferWise. Incredibly cheap foreign bank transfers. So you can send money anywhere in the world for pennies now, and it's almost instantaneous in many markets. I think it's a fabulous product. It's part of the Monzo experience. You can send money via TransferWise in the Monzo app. But with many of these point solutions, they're sort of fragmented. If you want to get a great price, great choice, great customer service, you end up having 15 or 20 different services and apps for your savings, your investments, your pension. You might have 4 or 5 pensions if you move around, your 5 or 6 insurance products, your student loan, your credit card, your debit cards. You go on, right? And for most people, that's overwhelming. For me, it's overwhelming. A small minority of people have a spreadsheet and calendar reminders and remember to switch. The rest of us just have this sort of sense of anxiety, frankly. And so we created Monzo to take that disaggregated set of solutions and to reaggregate them around a single storefront or hub, a single place that you as a consumer can go to see all of your money, wherever it sits, and then control it with one tap. Not to have to set up reminders and spreadsheets, but to have Monzo do most of the work for you, to make most of the administration just go away, to present you with a really simple option A or option B. For example, you got a mortgage 2 years, 9 months ago. It's a 3-year fixed-term mortgage. You got a great rate from HSBC, 1.45%. But you're up for renewal in 3 months' time. and HSBC are going to bump your rate up to 4%. So you end up paying triple. So Monzo can spot that in advance and say, hey, you're about to go onto a bad rate. So we've gone out to the market and found either a 3-year fix and a 5-year fix. And these are the best 2 deals we can find for you. And you'll benefit by saving thousands of pounds a year. And Monzo will benefit as well, because we get a £200-300 brokerage fee. So you benefit and we benefit. And together we build this really sustainable, all-encompassing financial storefront. So that is the vision. I don't know if it's a year away or 5 years or 10 years away. But that fundamentally is the idea behind Monzo. A single place to see all of your money, to have all of the administration taken care of, and to have one-click control. So a couple of examples I will give you of that. I'm running a little over time, so I will skip forwards. I think our savings marketplace is a really good first example of that. I had a look the other day, the websites of all the big banks, easy access savings account, NatWest, Barclays, HSBC, and the others. The interest rates they offered range from 0.2% to 0.3%. So we went out to 5 or 6 different partners, people like Oak North and Investec and Shawbrook, point solutions, single banks who offer a narrow range of products, and say, why don't you put your savings accounts on the Monzo app? And we're offering savings rates between about 1.1 and 1.6%. And it varies week by week and however much they want deposits, but 5 or 6 times higher than you can get with the high street banks. And honestly, I think we can do that with a range of other products in the future. So investments and wealth management. And pensions aggregation, I think, is going to be a huge, huge thing. As people move jobs more and more and more, having to manage 5 or 6 different pension pots is insane. So aggregating that and giving a convenient, low-cost solution to see it all in one place. Then you go on to insurance products, and it's things like car insurance and travel insurance and home insurance and pet insurance and device insurance, where you can insure a lot of stuff. But having to monitor it every year to make sure that you don't get jacked onto a crappy rate after that first-year introductory deal is part of what we want to do. And so I think the easy access savings account is just a taste of what's to come. The second thing I wanted to mention is this new navigation. And you can see it here on the left. Hopefully most of you have now experienced it. I wanted to talk about the rationale behind that. And you'll hear from Xander, I think, one of our design team, talking in more detail. As Simon said, no one loves change. Right? No one's like, brilliant, you've changed, I've learned how to use this UI, this navigation, and now you've changed it. Why have you screwed with the app I love so much? The reason is, we got to the limit of what we could put in the old structure. It was just there wasn't room for the additional functionality that we wanted. And so particularly, the horizontal swiping navigation of the cards allows us to add a lot more really, really exciting stuff. Whether it's potentially a Monzo credit card in the future, you just swipe between your cards. You swipe between a personal account and a joint account. You can add your Amex card or your Barclay card credit card. So that sort of horizontal swiping paradigm is almost infinitely scalable. Previously, we had this quite fixed tree structure that didn't allow you to really explore a set of different products. And particularly if you swipe all the way to the right, there's now a Discover card, which helps you find out about all of the new features and services we can offer. So I think it gives a really nice extensible way of adding additional products, whilst being really, really simple if you don't have them. If you only have a Monzo debit card and that's all you want, totally fine. That's what you see, and I think it's super efficient and a great user space. So I'm really, really proud of the new navigation. I think within a few weeks, people get really, really used to it, and it just feels incredibly natural. There are also a bunch of really delightful user experience shortcuts. You have to work a little bit to find them. But for example, if you double tap on the home screen in the bottom left, it'll switch you instantly between your personal account and a joint account. So just a bunch of really nice little kind of UX, I think the team calls them affordances. If you swipe up, a long swipe up from the bottom, it'll take you back to the overall sort of album view. Again, these kind of UI sort of tips, I guess, for power users make it really, really convenient once you've learned to use them. The final thing is salaries. So in order to be this all-encompassing hub, this control center, this storefront, it's really important for Monzo to be able to see as much of your transaction data as possible. Because honestly, that helps us figure out where you are losing out. If we can see that you have a British gas bill, and for 11 months it's been static and now it jumps up, it's a pretty good indication to us that you've just been moved from a fixed tariff onto a standard variable tariff. And that's a really good opportunity for us to say, hey, we've got these 2 or 3 partners, Bulb or Ovo or Octopus, who can offer you a long-term flat fixed rate. Why don't you switch? And you benefit by saving £200 or £300 a year, and Monzo benefits from a referral fee. So this kind of win-win situation is powered by visibility of transaction data. It's also important because we can build more tools like Salary Sorter. If we see your salary coming in, we can give you tools like the Salary Sorter that allows you to say, put 20% into my savings. Don't let me even see it. Just take it straight away out of my paycheck and put it into my long-term savings. Take 30% of my salary and put it into a bills pot. Make sure I don't spend my rent accidentally. And then the remainder put into my main debit card. It's my disposable spending money. So what customers always told us in the early days, they really liked the way Monzo helped them segment their money. You know, I've got my Barclays account, and that's my bills. My Monzo is my disposable spend, which is great. I think that segmentation, that separation, so you don't accidentally overspend is really, really powerful. And what we've tried to do is use Salary Sorter in these separate pots to give you that feeling of separation without having to use 2 or 3 different banks. Salaries are also really, really important selfishly. For Monzo, it helps us be sustainable because people transact more, and they typically drive about twice the revenue. So without paying any fees whatsoever, if you put your salary into Monzo and use it as your main card, you generate about twice the amount of revenue as a customer who only uses it for part of their account, which is really, really great because that helps us offset the costs of our salaries and doing events like this. And as a loss-making bank, it is really, really important that we continue to grow revenue lines in a way that's fair and transparent, and in the long term makes us sustainable. So salaries will keep pushing on. There are a bunch of exciting new features to come. Salary Sorter, Get Paid Early was something that came out about 3 or 4 months ago. Has been trialed in the US very, very successfully, but I think we're the first bank in Europe to offer it. So if you've not tried that, basically allows you to unlock your salary at 4 p.m. the day before your colleagues would receive it, as long as you're paid by backs, which about 93% of the population are. So give it a go, open your app and tap to get paid early, and you'll get the money in your account a day early at no cost. Bang on time. I will finish by saying thank you again for coming. I think you've got an amazing agenda lined up, and I will see you at about 4 o'clock for a Q&A with Eileen Burbage, who is awesome. Thanks for coming. See you soon.